The desert of northern Afghanistan looked endless under the pale morning sky. Jagged mountains cut through the horizon like broken teeth, and the wind carried fine dust that stung the eyes and coated every surface in a thin layer of silence. Captain Emily Carter stood at the edge of a rocky ridge, her silhouette framed against the rising sun. At 28, she had already spent nearly a decade in combat zones, but something about this mission felt different. Heavier, colder. Behind her, Team Shadow 7 assembled in quiet precision. 6 soldiers, elite, trained for operations that never made it into official reports. They didn't joke, they didn't hesitate. They just waited for her order. Emily checked her wrist display again. Mission, Operation Black Horizon. Objective, locate and destroy Mobile Insurgent Missile Command Unit. Clearance level, classified. No satellite confirmation. No public intel. Only fragmented data from intercepted transmissions suggesting that an extremist group had developed a portable missile system capable of striking multiple borders within minutes. If deployed, it would destabilize the entire region. And yet, the briefing had been suspiciously short. Too many blanks. Too many unknowns. Sergeant Miller stepped beside her, adjusting his rifle strap. "Captain, you sure about this route through the canyon?" Emily didn't answer immediately. She was studying the terrain ahead, narrow stone corridors, elevated cliffs on both sides, and just enough space for an ambush. "I don't like it either," she finally said. "But Command insists this is the only approach that keeps us off their radar." Miller gave a dry laugh. "Off their radar feels like walking straight into a funnel." Emily glanced at him. "You think I don't know that?" That shut him up. She turned away, scanning the rest of her team. Private Reyes checked his ammo. Corporal Singh tightened his gloves. Lieutenant Hayes verified the drone feed, but the signal kept cutting in and out, as if something was interfering. That detail alone made Emily's instincts sharpen. Electronic interference in a supposedly quiet zone. Not normal. Not accidental. "Listen up," Emily said firmly. The team immediately focused on her. "We move in formation delta. No deviation. No solo movement. If something feels wrong, you call it out immediately." "Yes, ma'am," they responded in unison. But even as they moved, the canyon ahead felt like it was waiting. Watching. The descent into the rocky pass took nearly 40 minutes. The higher they climbed into enemy territory, the more unnatural the silence became. No birds, no distant gunfire, not even whine through the cliffs. Just emptiness. Miller leaned closer again. "This place is dead." Emily's grip tightened on her rifle, or it's pretending to be. They moved deeper. The canyon narrowed until only a thin strip of sky was visible above them. The walls rose like prison bars, trapping them inside a stone corridor. And then, Lieutenant Hayes stopped suddenly. "Captain," he said quietly, "I'm picking up something." Emily turned. "What kind of something?" Hayes frowned at his device. "Heat signatures, but inconsistent, like they're buried." Emily felt a cold ripple move down her spine. Buried heat signatures. Underground presence. That meant tunnels, or something worse. "Everyone halt," she ordered. The team froze instantly. Emily crouched, placing her palm on the rock wall. It felt warm in patches. Too warm. Her mind processed quickly. This wasn't just terrain. This was engineered space. A trap designed to funnel movement. "Move back," she said sharply. But it was already too late. A faint click echoed somewhere above. Emily's eyes shot upward. A bird flew overhead, then exploded midair. A split-second silence followed. Then the world detonated. The canyon erupted in fire and sound. The explosion came not from one point, but multiple hidden charges embedded within the rock walls. The entire valley became a collapsing inferno. "Ambush down," Emily shouted. But the shockwave hit before her words finished. The force threw her backward into the stone, knocking the air from her lungs. Dust and fire swallowed everything. The ground shook violently as if the earth itself was tearing apart. She heard screams. Miller shouting her name. Singh yelling something she couldn't process. Then, another blast. And another. The canyon turned into a nightmare of collapsing rock and burning debris. Emily struggled to move, crawling through shattered ground as explosions chained along the canyon walls like a carefully timed execution. This wasn't random. This was controlled. Systematic. They were being erased. A massive slab of rock collapsed nearby, pinning part of the team. Emily tried to push forward, but another shockwave knocked her sideways. Her helmet cracked. Her vision blurred. Through the smoke she saw silhouettes, her soldiers still trying to move, still trying to survive. Then one by one, they disappeared into fire and dust. "Shadow 7, respond," she screamed into her radio. Only static answered. Her breathing turned ragged. Her ears rang so loudly she could barely hear anything else. The explosions finally slowed. Then stopped. Silence returned. Not peaceful silence. Dead silence. Emily lay on the ground, half buried under debris. Her fingers trembled as she pushed herself up, coughing through the thick smoke. "Report," she whispered. "Nothing." She staggered forward. What she saw froze her completely. The canyon was gone. Not damaged, destroyed. Rock formations had collapsed inward, sealing exits. Burned equipment lay scattered everywhere. Black smoke twisted through the ruins like ghosts refusing to leave. And her team. Gone. No movement. No voices. No survival signals. Emily dropped to her knees. For a moment she didn't speak. Didn't move. Didn't breathe. Then her voice cracked through the silence. This was planned. Her eyes lifted slowly, burning with something deeper than shock. Recognition. This wasn't just an ambush. This was execution. And she had been meant to die with them. But she hadn't. Emily slowly reached for her broken radio. A faint signal flickered in and out. Then silence again. She clenched her jaw, forcing herself to stand despite the shaking ground beneath her. Above her, the sky remained calm. Too calm. As if nothing had happened here at all. Emily Carter looked across the ruined canyon one last time. Her unit was gone. The mission had failed. But somewhere in the chaos, a truth was hiding. And she was now the only one left alive to uncover it. She tightened her grip on her weapon and stepped forward into the smoke. The smoke hadn't fully cleared yet. It clung to the canyon like a dying breath that refused to leave. The air was thick with burnt metal, crushed stone, and something far worse, silence where voices used to be. Captain Emily Carter stood alone in the wreckage of what was once Team Shadow 7. Her hands trembled slightly, but her grip on the rifle stayed firm. Years of training had taught her one thing above all else. If you're still breathing, the mission isn't over. But this didn't feel like a mission anymore. It felt like a message. A warning written in fire. Emily stepped carefully over broken terrain. Every few meters she stopped, not because of fear, but because her instincts were screaming at her to analyze everything. The explosion pattern wasn't random. It was layered. First blast, entry block. Second wave, structural collapse. Third wave, containment seal. Whoever did this didn't just want them dead. They wanted them buried and erased. Her eyes narrowed. Professional military-grade execution, she muttered, but not ours. She crouched near a shattered comms device half buried under rock. The casing was scorched, but the internal memory module was still intact, blinking faintly in survival mode. Emily carefully pulled it out. "Come on," she whispered. Her glove interface connected to it. A faint data stream loaded. Corrupted. Fragments only. But fragments were enough. A list of coordinates appeared. A timestamp. And then a single line of encrypted text. Black Horizon Phase 2 authorization confirmed. Emily's breath slowed. Phase 2. She had never been briefed on a second phase. Her jaw tightened as she scrolled further. Another fragment appeared. Unit status, TRMNATD confirmed. Survivor, 1 unexpected variable. Her fingers froze. Unexpected variable. That meant she wasn't part of the plan anymore. She was an anomaly. A mistake. Or worse, a target that failed to die. Suddenly, her wrist radio crackled. Emily snapped her head up instantly. Not static this time. A clean signal. Deliberate. Controlled. Captain Carter. Her entire body went still. That voice. Calm, familiar, almost comforting. It came through again. "You're awake, good." Emily slowly raised her weapon, scanning the canyon. "Show yourself," she said coldly. A pause. Then the voice replied. "You already know me." Her grip tightened. "Not good enough." A faint sigh came through the comms. "You were never supposed to survive that canyon." Emily's eyes sharpened. "So it was you." Another pause. Then, "We didn't betray you, Captain. We redirected the outcome." Emily's mind raced. Redirected outcome. That wasn't language soldiers used. That was intelligence language. Command-level language. Her voice dropped dangerously. "You killed my unit." "No," the voice replied calmly. "We removed a compromised asset group." Emily's breathing grew heavier. Shadow 7 wasn't compromised. A soft laugh echoed through the radio. "You think you were sent there because of intelligence." The words hit differently. Emily didn't respond. The voice continued. "That canyon wasn't a battlefield. It was a calibration zone, and your team was never expected to complete it." Emily slowly looked around the destroyed canyon. A calibration zone. Her stomach tightened. "This was a test," she whispered. A pause. Then, "Correct." Her vision darkened slightly, not from injury but realization. "They used live soldiers," she said slowly, "to test a weapon system." "Not a weapon system," the voice corrected. "A deployment protocol." Emily's voice sharpened. "Who authorized this?" Silence. Then, Level 5 clearance. She already knew what that meant. Only a handful of people in military intelligence had that level. Her mind raced through names, faces, briefings. Then she stopped. One name stood out. The mission handler. The one who personally assigned Shadow 7. Colonel Adrian Voss. Her stomach tightened. "No," she whispered. The voice on the radio softened. "You're connecting the pieces now." Emily turned slowly toward the canyon exit. "Where is Voss?" A faint hum came through the radio. "Safe, watching, waiting." Her eyes narrowed. "For what?" A pause. Then the final answer came. "For you." The signal cut. Silence returned. But this time it felt different. Not empty. Not dead. Targeted. Emily stood in the ruins, her breathing steadying into something sharper. Anger. Control. Focus. She slowly removed the broken radio from her wrist and crushed it under her boot. No more voices, she said quietly. She looked at the canyon walls, collapsed, burned, and silent. They didn't just kill my team. Her voice hardened. They created a survivor. She reloaded her weapon, checked her remaining gear. Only essentials remained. No backup. No extraction. No command support. Just her. And a truth buried under lies. Emily started walking toward the canyon exit. Each step was steady now. Not hesitant. Not lost. Focused. Because something inside her had shifted. She wasn't part of the operation anymore. She was the problem the operation failed to eliminate. And whoever designed it was about to realize something very dangerous. They left her alive. The canyon behind her was no longer a battlefield. It was evidence. Captain Emily Carter moved through the rocky terrain with slow, controlled steps, each one deliberate. The smoke had faded now, replaced by harsh daylight that made the destruction even more real. No reinforcements. No extraction signal. No friendly response. Just silence from command. And that silence was louder than any explosion. Emily stopped at a ridge overlooking the valley below. Far in the distance, a faint military drone passed overhead, too high to be part of her mission. Surveillance only. Watching. Recording. Not rescuing. Her jaw tightened. "They're already watching," she muttered. She adjusted her broken tactical gear and opened a concealed emergency data chip from her vest, something only high-level operatives were issued for worst-case scenarios. If command went dark or turned hostile, this chip could bypass standard encryption layers. She inserted it into her wrist interface. A red light blinked. Then green. Access granted. Immediately, fragmented files began loading. Restricted mission logs, hidden communication threads, and classified overlays that were never part of her briefing. Emily's eyes narrowed as she scrolled. Most of it was redacted. But not all. One file stood out. Project Black Horizon, Internal Oversight Log. Her breath slowed. She opened it. The screen flickered. Then a voice file activated. Not hers. Not her team. A senior command voice. Calm, controlled. Familiar. Test Phase 1 is complete. Shadow 7 performed within acceptable parameters. Emily froze. Acceptable parameters. Her team's deaths reduced to performance metrics. She continued listening. The canyon deployment confirmed detonation efficiency at 97%. Survivability threshold exceeded expectations. Her fingers tightened. Survivability threshold. That meant they had expected survivors. Or designed for them. Her eyes sharpened. A second file opened automatically. Unauthorized survivor event. Her designation appeared. Captain Emily Carter status, active variable. Variable. Not asset. Not soldier. Variable. Her stomach tightened. She kept reading. Subject Carter demonstrates adaptive survival response beyond predicted model. Recommend observation and containment. Containment. Not rescue. Not debrief. Containment. Emily slowly looked up from the screen. This wasn't a mission, she whispered. It was a controlled environment. A voice suddenly came through her comms again. But this time, it wasn't radio static. It was a secure channel. High-level military encryption. Captain Carter. Her eyes narrowed instantly. She didn't respond. The voice continued. You've accessed restricted files. A pause. Then, that was not authorized. Emily turned slowly toward the open desert. I lost my entire unit, she said coldly. Authorization doesn't matter anymore. A calm sigh came through the channel. You were never meant to see those files. Emily tightened her grip on her weapon. I wasn't meant to survive either. Silence. Then, you are correct. Her breath slowed. The honesty of the answer was more disturbing than denial. The voice continued. Shadow 7 was selected specifically because of loyalty profiles. You were the only one considered unpredictable. Emily's eyes narrowed. Unpredictable. Yes, the voice replied. You question patterns, you hesitate, you analyze beyond directive scope. Her jaw tightened. So you used my team to test me. A pause. Then, to observe you. The wind across the desert suddenly felt colder. Emily looked down at the destroyed canyon behind her. They're not just testing weapons, she said quietly. They're testing people. The voice responded. Human adaptability is the final battlefield. That sentence hit differently. Not emotional. Not personal. Scientific. Cold. Emily stepped forward. Who are you? She demanded. A pause. Then, you already know the answer, Captain. Her mind flashed through everything. Mission briefings. The canyon. The authorization levels. The voice pattern. Her eyes widened slightly. No, she whispered. The voice continued. Colonel Adrian Voss sends his regards. Her grip tightened so hard her knuckles turned white. Voss, she repeated slowly. A name. Not just a commander. Her direct mission overseer. The man who looked her in the eye before deployment and said, Bring your team home. Her voice dropped. He set us up. A faint acknowledgement came through the channel. He ensured mission compliance with experimental parameters. Emily's breathing changed. Slow. Controlled. Dangerous. So my team was never supposed to come back. Correct. A long silence followed. Then Emily spoke again, calm but edged with something darker. And me. A pause. Longer this time. Then, you were never part of the original termination sequence. Her eyes narrowed. Explain. The voice softened slightly. You were marked for observation after survival. Your extraction is now pending retrieval protocol. Emily turned sharply. Retrieval. Yes. A beat. Then, by us. Something in her expression changed. Not fear. Not shock. Understanding. They don't want me dead, she said quietly. They want me controlled. No response. Which was confirmation enough. Emily looked at the horizon. The world suddenly felt bigger. And more dangerous. Because now she knew the truth. Her mission wasn't over. It was just beginning. And somewhere deep inside the military machine she once served, someone was waiting to decide what she would become next. Emily slowly raised her weapon. No retrieval, she said firmly. Then she cut the channel. The silence that followed wasn't empty anymore. It was choice. And she had just made hers. She turned toward the open desert. Alone. But no longer unaware. Because now she understood the real war wasn't on the battlefield. It was inside command itself. And she was no longer a soldier in it. She was a threat to it. Night had fallen over the desert. But Captain Emily Carter didn't stop moving. The wind had cooled, turning the sand into a shifting black ocean under the moonlight. Far behind her, The destroyed canyon was now just a shadow on the horizon, like it had never existed at all. But she remembered everything. Every explosion, every voice, every name, especially one, Colonel Adrian Voss. Emily adjusted her gear and checked the last remaining piece of functioning tech, a stolen encrypted locator pulled from the restricted files. It wasn't much, but it was enough. It gave her one signal, a moving command asset. Not a base, not a bunker, a convoy. She narrowed her eyes, still in the field as she muttered. That changed everything. If Voss wasn't hidden in some underground command center, it meant he was either fleeing or finishing something personally. And knowing what she now knew, he wouldn't leave until the experiment was complete. Emily moved silently across the dunes, her silhouette blending with the darkness. Every step was controlled, efficient, no wasted motion. This wasn't survival anymore. This was pursuit. Hours passed. Then finally, she saw it. A convoy of 3 armored vehicles moving slowly across a remote desert route. No lights, no markings, just encrypted military frequency signals barely visible on her scanner. Emily dropped to one knee behind a rock ridge. Zoomed in. Her breath slowed. At the center vehicle, she saw him. Colonel Adrian Voss. Alive. Watching monitors inside the moving command unit like nothing had happened. Like entire teams hadn't been erased. Like Shadow 7 was just another data point. Something inside Emily went quiet. Not emotion. Decision. She checked her remaining ammo. 1 magazine left. 2 grenades. And something more dangerous than both. Certainty. Emily moved. No radio. No backup. No hesitation. She approached the convoy from the blind side, using terrain dips and rock shadows. The desert was silent enough that even her heartbeat felt loud. Closer now. 50 meters. 30. A guard turned slightly. Emily fired once. Silent suppressor. The guard dropped before he even realized he was dead. No alarm yet. She moved again. Another guard. Another shot. 2 down. Inside the convoy, something flickered on their internal sensors. Too late. Emily reached the second vehicle, placed a charge under the chassis, and moved instantly away. Boom! The explosion ripped through the armored transport, sending fire into the night sky. The convoy halted immediately. Shouts erupted. Alarms triggered. Now they knew. Emily didn't hide anymore. She stepped into view. Rifle raised. Standing alone in the open desert like a ghost, they failed to erase. One of the soldiers shouted, "Contact front, 1 target." But before they could respond, Emily moved. Vast. Precise. A blur of controlled violence. 2 more soldiers down in seconds. She advanced through the chaos like it was nothing more than broken code. She was deleting line by line. Then, the final vehicle door opened, and Colonel Voss stepped out. Calm. Composed. As if this was expected. He raised a hand. Enough. Emily stopped 10 meters away. Their eyes locked. For the first time since the canyon, silence had a face. Voss looked at her carefully. "I knew you'd come," he said. Emily didn't lower her weapon. "You murdered my unit." Voss shook his head slightly. "No, I evaluated your unit." Her finger tightened on the trigger. "You call that evaluation?" A faint, tired expression crossed his face. "You're still thinking like a soldier," he said. "That was your first mistake." Emily's voice turned colder. My first mistake was trusting command. Voss studied her. Shadow 7 performed exactly as expected, he said, except for one variable. Emily didn't blink. You. A pause. Then he continued. You survived what should have been unsurvivable. That canyon wasn't just an ambush. It was a stress response chamber. We tested command loyalty, tactical adaptation, emotional breakdown thresholds. Emily cut him off sharply. You killed them. Voss didn't deny it. I removed constraints. The words landed heavier than bullets. Emily stepped forward slightly. They were people. Voss's tone didn't change. They were data sets. Something in Emily snapped, but not explosively. Quietly, controlled, dangerously calm. You don't get to redefine them, she said. Voss tilted his head. You still think this is about morality. Emily raised her rifle higher. What is it about then? A pause. Then Voss answered. Control of future warfare. Silence stretched between them. Then he continued. The battlefield is no longer physical. It's psychological. We needed soldiers who survive when systems fail, when orders collapse, when reality breaks. His eyes locked on hers. You are the first successful result. Emily stared at him. Not anger now. Clarity. So I wasn't the survivor of your experiment. She stepped forward. I was the objective. Voss didn't respond immediately. Then, yes. A long silence followed. Wind moved through the desert. Stars flickered above them like distant witnesses. Emily lowered her weapon slightly. Voss watched her carefully. You have two choices, he said. Return with us or disappear as a failure report. Emily looked at the convoy burning behind him. At the bodies. At the desert that had tried to erase her. Then she looked back at him. And smiled slightly. Not warmth. Not relief. Understanding. I already made my choice, she said quietly. Voss frowned slightly. What choice is that? Emily raised her weapon again, but not at him. At the convoy's remaining fuel core. A blinking stabilization unit. His eyes widened slightly. You wouldn't. Emily interrupted him. You built this system on control. Her finger rested on the trigger. I'm just restoring balance. For the first time. Voss looked uncertain. Emily, don't. Too late. Boom. The desert lit up like a second sun. The convoy vanished in a controlled chain explosion, shockwaves rolling across the sand like thunder breaking the night. Silence returned again. But this time, it was final. Emily stood alone in the fading glow. No orders. No command. No mission. Just desert wind and falling ash. She lowered her weapon slowly. And turned away. Because the war she had been forced into was no longer hers to fight. Not anymore. As she walked into the darkness, one truth remained clear. They tried to erase her. They failed. And now, the system that created her war would never be the same again.